What are the 3 things that I want you to do when you're communicating with someone who's living with dementia? I'm Dr. Nicole Didyk, and I'm a geriatrician with 20 years of experience looking after older adults and their families. Many of the people that I've cared for were living with dementia. And over the years, I've learned some tips about the best ways to communicate. One thing I want you to do when you're communicating with someone who's living with dementia is to go into the world of that person. In the world of the person who's living with dementia, the time may be very compressed so that it's really just in the present moment. It might be hard for the person to remember the recent past, although the distant past might be very clear and sharp. And it also might be difficult to project very far into the future. Going into someone's world and accepting their perception of how things are is a great place to start in communication. It'll help you to avoid trying to correct or confront somebody or to deny that the way that they are perceiving things is correct. Go into their frame of reference, and with a little practice, that'll get easier. My second top tip is to pay attention to your nonverbal language. What you say may not be as important as how you say it. Think about how your body is positioned. It always works best if you can make direct contact with somebody in a non-confrontational way. Give them your full attention if you can. And use a calming tone of voice. You don't necessarily have to be overly excited or cheerful or loud or high-pitched. That might work against you in communication. But speaking calmly and directly and using a body language that's relaxed and attentive is going to go a long way towards making the person with dementia feel heard and understood. My third tip for communication with people who are living with dementia is to pay attention to the emotional connection that you're making. So if the person living with dementia is a family member, then it might not be hard to focus on that relationship and want to have a relaxing and peaceful moment with the person. If you're working with somebody in a professional sense, then it's also a good idea to try to build that professional rapport with somebody. You may not always be able to communicate what you think you need to or to get information from the person in the way that's going to be the most efficient. But if you can have an interaction where you're helping the person with dementia to feel heard and understood and respected, then that emotional connection is worthwhile. It'll go a long way towards making your relationship with the person better. And it might smooth over some of the areas that are pain points in your relationship. So if you've got that warm emotional connection, it might be easier when it's time for someone to have a bath or to go somewhere or just do something that's not their favorite activity. I hope these tips are helpful, and I'd love to hear your tips about things that you can do to make communication with someone living with dementia better. Remember, it's not always that important what type of dementia the person has, but whether it's Alzheimer's or something else, using those principles to communicate is likely to be helpful. The top 3 tips are to pay attention to your nonverbal body language, to go into the world of the person who's living with dementia, and to try to focus on the emotional connection and build the relationship rather than just communicate or exchange certain facts. Thanks for watching, and if you want to learn more about the brain and aging, please go to my website, thewrinkle.ca, and subscribe to me here on YouTube.